साद्वैतम सावधूतम पद्यन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सह गंगा श्री विशाखानुतांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकतत्पदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद् भागवत औखनित्वान्तोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तु मे मदेक बंधो मत्संगी मद्गुरु मन्महात्मना मनस्तारक मन्मोग्यं दान साधु साधुता दाये नद्वे चोच्चताकरा हानमंच कदाचिन् मां कंठयोस्परा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम वासुदेवाय 3.23.4 to 5 सवै देवर्षि वर्ग्यस्तां मानवीं समनुव्रतां दैवात् गरीयसः पत्युर् आशासानां महाशिशः कालेन भूयसा क्षामां कर्षितां व्रतचर्यया प्रेमगद्गदया वाचा पीडितः कृपया ब्रवीत्. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. Thus she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kardama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. Daivad Gariyasaha, Daivad api Gurutara, Daivam api Anyatha Kartum Samartha. She considered him to be greater than even Providence, which means that she considered that he can do things which Providence cannot do. He can undo what Providence does. She thought about her husband like that. Yadva. Alternate meaning. Visrijya kama ityuktam. What is this? Visrijya kamam ityuktam. Kamam ityuktam. Yes. तदपि कियत् समय अनन्तरं दैवात् परमेश्वर प्रेरणा वशात् महा आशिषः कामान् आशासानां इच्छन्तीं. She is connecting the words differently. She had given up her lust, pride, and so on. She had given up all of those propensities. For how long? By the will of Providence. That means by the impelling of the Supreme Lord, she was actually desiring great blessings from her husband. Kripaya piditaha tasyah karshya darshanena santaptaha. When he saw her very thin, then he became disturbed, santaptaha, became pained out of compassion for her. The wife is expected to be of the same category as the husband. She must be prepared to follow the principles of the husband, and then there will be a happy life. If the husband is a devotee and the wife is materialistic, there cannot be any peace in the home. The wife must see the tendencies of the husband and must be prepared to follow him. From Mahabharata, we learn that when Gandhari understood that her would-be husband, Trashra, was blind, she immediately began to practice blindness herself. Thus, she covered her eyes and played the part of a blind woman. She decided that since her husband was blind, she must also act like a blind woman, otherwise, she would be proud of her eyes and her husband would be seen as inferior. The word Samanuvrata. Where is that? Samanuvratam, fully devoted, indicates that it is the duty of a wife to adopt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. Of course, if the husband is as great as Kardamani, then a very good result accrues from following him. But even if the husband is not a great devotee like Kardama Muni, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to his mentality. That makes married life very happy. It is also mentioned here that by following the strict vows of a chaste woman, Princess Devahuti became very skinny, and therefore her husband became compassionate. He knew that she was the daughter of a great king and yet was serving him just like an ordinary woman. She was reduced in health by such activities, and he became compassionate and addressed her as follows. 6. Ardhama तुष्टोहमद्य तव मान विमानदाया शुश्रूषया परमया परया च भक्त्या यो देहिनामयमतीव सुहृत्सदे हो नावेक्षितः समुचितः क्षपितुं मदर्थे. Prabhu Muni said, O respectful daughter of Swayambhu Manu, today I am very much pleased with you for your great devotion and most excellent loving service. Since the body is so dear to embodied beings, I am astonished that you have neglected your own body to use it on my behalf. Sadehah na avekshitah tishtatu nashyatu va iti evam na ganitah iti artah. She never took care of her body. She thought, let my body remain or let it be destroyed. Parama parivratayaha tava etat yuktameva iti deham vishinishti. You are supremely devoted to your husband. Pativrata is a word that's difficult to translate in English. Pativrata means a woman who accepts the vows of her husband. It also means that she has taken a vow that she will only associate with her husband. It means many things. It's also defined in Sri Govindaraja is also defined. It's also quoted a definition of what a Pativrata is. So Devahuti is supremely devoted to Kardama, and therefore Kardama thought that it is appropriate for you. And with that in mind, he describes her body. Madarthe matsevarthe eva kshapayitum kshini kartum samuchitaha. Your body is fit to be made emaciated in my service. It is indicated here that one's body is very dear. Yet Devahuti was so faithful to her husband that not only did she serve him with great devotion, service, and respect, but she did not even care for her own health. That is called selfless service. It appears that Devahuti had no sense pleasure even with her husband. Otherwise, she would not have deteriorated in health. Acting to facilitate Kardama Muni's engagement and spiritual elevation, she continually assisted him, not caring for bodily comfort. It is the duty of a faithful, chaste wife to help her husband in every respect, especially when the husband is engaged in Krishna consciousness. In this case, the husband also amply rewarded the wife. This is not to be expected by a woman who is the wife of an ordinary person. So just because a wife is very chaste to her husband doesn't mean that she will get to experience the opulences that were provided by Kardama Muni to Devahuti Devi. 7. Ye me swadharma niratasya tapas samadhi vidyatma yoga vijita bhagavat prasadah तानेव ते मदनुसेवन यावरुद्धां दृष्टिं प्रपश्य वितराम्य भयान शोकान. Kardama Muni continued, I have achieved the blessings of the Lord in discharging my own religious life of austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. Although you have not yet experienced these achievements, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them all to you because you are engaged in my service. Now just look at them. I'm giving you the transcendental vision to see how nice they are. Tasmat etat nirrupathi seva rina parishodhanartham anyat kinchana tubhyam atum na upayujyate sevarna. tubhyam datum na upayujyate. I cannot give you just any ordinary thing in order to uh, indemnify myself from the debt incurred by your unconditional service to me. Kintu etadeva paramadurlabham vastu. Rather, I will give you. Here is some extremely rarely attained benediction. With this in mind, he speaks text 7. Samadhi, dhyana paripakah, vidya, upasana, तावेव आत्मयोगौ ताभ्यां विजिताः प्राप्ताः वृद्धान् त्वयापि वशीकृतान् न्यायतः लब्धान् एव इत्यर्थः. I have achieved the blessings of the Lord, but because I engaged in samadhi. Different. He engaged in swadharma, he engaged in austerities. Samadhi refers to mature meditation. I engaged in upasana. Vidya is referred to as upasana, worship of the Lord. Taveva Atma Yoga. They are the very means by which one can attain the Supreme Soul. Tabhyam Vijitah Praptah. And it is through that I have attained various blessings of the Lord. And now just see, I will, because of your service, I will give all of them to you. They are actually attained by you righteously. You have brought all of them under you righteously. Prapashyate divyam drishtim tarami. I will now look at this, which means I'm going to give you the celestial vision by which you can see this. Yaya drishtya tan eva aduna sakshat rakshyasi. And it is by that vision that you will be able to see everything that has come under you. Prapashyate divyam drishtim. Yadva. Mat kripaya drishtim prakarshena pashya. Alternate meaning. By my mercy, clearly see. Alamatra lajjaya tibhava. Don't be shy anymore. Atra swadharma tapo mishra bhagavad dhyanadhivir ye bhagavad sadaha. Tebhyah bhogamokshau bathita vevasyatamiti abhiprayena abhayana shokan. So the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that is attained by meditation on Him and so on, which when it is mixed with swadharma as well as austerities, those blessings will be given to you, and they will be in the form of bhoga and moksha, of an unconstrained form. Therefore, he uses the words abhayan shokan. These achievements are free from fear and lamentation. But Devahuti engaged only in the service of Kardam. She was not supposed to be so advanced in austerity, ecstasy, meditation or Krishna consciousness, but imperceptibly she was sharing her husband's achievements, which she could neither see nor experience. Automatically she achieved these graces of the Lord. What are the graces of the Lord? It is stated here that the graces of the Lord are abhaya, free from fearfulness. In the material world, if someone accumulates $1 million, he is always full of fear because he is always thinking, what if the money is lost? But the benediction of the Lord, Bhagavad Sada, is never to be lost. It is simply to be enjoyed. There is no question of loss. One simply gains and enjoys gaining. Bhagavad Gita also confirms this. When one achieves the grace of the Lord, the result is that sarvadukkhani, all distresses, are destroyed. When situated in the transcendental position, one is freed from the two kinds of material diseases, hankering and lamentation. This is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. After devotional life begins, we can achieve the full result of love of Godhead. ब्रह्मभूत प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न कांक्षति समस्सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते पराम भक्त्या माम अभिजानाति यावान्यस्यास्मि तत्त्वतः ततो मां तत्त्वतः ज्ञात्वा विशते तदनन्तरम्. So only after it begins you can achieve uh, love of God. Love of Krishna is the highest perfection of Bhagavad Prasad or divine mercy. This transcendental achievement is so greatly valuable that no material happiness can compare. Prabodhananda Saraswati said that if one achieves the grace of Lord Chaitanya, he becomes so great that he does not care a fig even for the demigods. He thinks of monism as hellish, and for him the perfection of controlling the senses is as easy as hell. Heavenly pleasures become to him no more than stories. Actually, there is no comparison between material happiness and transcendental happiness. By the grace of Gardavamani, Devahuti experienced actual realization simply by serving. We get a similar example in the life of Narada Muni. In his previous life, Narada was a maidservant's son, but his mother was engaged in the service of great devotees. He got the opportunity to serve the devotees, and simply by eating the remnants of their foodstuff and carrying out their orders, he became so elevated that in his next life, he became the great personality Narada. For spiritual achievement, the easiest path is to take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and to serve him with heart and soul. That is the secret of success. As stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasadaha. By serving or receiving the grace of the spiritual master, one receives the grace of the Supreme Lord. By serving her devotee husband Karzavamuni, Devahuti shared in his achievements. Similarly, a sincere disciple, simply by serving a bona fide spiritual master, can achieve all the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master simultaneously. Okay, what is the question here? No question, nothing. Okay. No, there is something. Chaste word. Isn't the word chaste the meaning of pativrata? Yes, but it has a particular connotation. It has a particular connotation in Vedic culture. It appears that Devahuti had no sense pleasure. Does it mean she is already self-realized? No, no. There's so many people, so many pious people, they engage in great austerities. They're not self-realized, and but they avoid the sense pleasure. Devotion service begins after taking initiation. Adav Guru Padashraya. First one has to take shelter of a perfect pure devotee of Krishna. That is the starting point. Adav. Then Sri Krishna Diksha Adi Shikshanam. Then one takes Krishna Diksha and Krishna Shiksha. Those things come later. From another point of view, devotion service begins from the point of Shraddha itself. Adav Shraddha, Tatah Sadhu Sangha. This taking shelter of a guru is the second step, Sadhu Sangha. Then from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's perspective, Satam Kripa, received of the mercy of the saintly authorities. That is the beginning of devotion service. Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, then serving those great souls. Then Shraddha, then Guru Padashraya. Like that it goes. 8. Anye punar bhagavato bhruvabhutrimha vidbhramshitar sarachana kimurukramasya siddhasi bhukshu bhavan nijatharma dohan divyan narai duradhigan nirpavikriyabhi. Gardavamani continued, what is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are subject to be annihilated simply by a movement of the eyebrows of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By your principles of devotion to your husband, you have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Anye, others. Wait, read out the Anvaya first. What is this? This is text number 8. Text number. Bhagavataha urukramasya hareha bhruvaha ujrimbha vibhramshita artharachana ujrimbha Bhakti-vaibhava tena vibhramshitaha artharachanaha manorathaha येषु ते अन्ये पुनः भोगाः किम अतितुच्छाः. All other enjoyments are insignificant. All of these enjoyments are anyway dependent on the creation of these enjoyments, the desire to fulfill these enjoyments. All of them, they are destroyed when Lord Hari, the most adventurous Supreme Personality of Godhead, he simply frowns, when he just frowns at it. अन्ये शच्यादिवरपि भुज्यमाना स्वर्गीयापि भोगा भयशोकव्याप्ता एव इत्याह. The enjoyments of Swarga that are enjoyed by Shachi and others. Shachi is Indra's wife, and others. They are all filled with fear and lamentation. So the blessings that I will give you, the sort of enjoyment that I will give, that will be distinct from all of that. Kim na kimapi tuchha ityad. What is as good as this? What is the use of enjoyments other than the Lord's grace? Na kimapi. No, everything else is insignificant. निजधर्मेण पातिव्रत्येन दुह्यमानान् नृपोऽहं नृपपत्नी च अहम् इति वा विक्रियाः ताभिः दुरधिगमान् दुर्लभान् इत्यर्थः. You have achieved and can enjoy transcendental gifts very rarely obtained by persons proud of aristocracy and material possessions. Normally, one would think, I am a king, I am the wife of a king, and so on. And these people, because of their pride, they will not be able to achieve what I am giving you. And all of this, you have milked it out by yourself, literally. Nijadharma dohan, through your own swadharma. The woman's swadharma is pativratya, to become a pativrata wife. So you have attained this through your own swadharma. Lord Chaitanya recommended that the greatest achievement of human life is to achieve the grace of the Lord, love of God. He said, Prema Pumartho Mahan, to achieve love of God, it is the highest perfection of life. The same perfection is recommended by Kardamani to his wife. His wife belonged to a very aristocratic royal family. Generally, those who are very materialistic or who possess material wealth and prosperity are unable to appreciate the value of transcendental love of God. Although Devahuti was a princess coming from a very great royal family, fortunately, she was under the supervision of her great husband Kardamani, who offered her the best gift which can be bestowed in human life, the grace of the Lord or love of God. This grace of the Lord was achieved by Devahuti by the goodwill and satisfaction of her husband. She served her husband, who was a great devotee and saintly person, with great sincerity, love, affection, and service. And Kardamani was satisfied. He willingly gave love of God, and he recommended that she accept it and enjoy it because he had already achieved it. Love of God is not an ordinary commodity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was worshipped by Rupa Goswami because he distributed love of God, Krishna Prema, to everyone. Rupa Goswami praised him as Mahavatanya, a greatly munificent personality, because he was freely distributing to everyone love of Godhead, which is achieved by wise men only after many, many births. Krishna Prema, Krishna consciousness, is the highest gift which can be bestowed on anyone whom we presume to love. One word used in this verse, Nijadharma Dohan, is very significant. Devahuti, as a wife of Kardamani, achieved an invaluable gift from her husband because she was very faithful to him. For a woman, the first principle of religion is to be faithful to her husband. If fortunately the husband is a great personality, then the combination is perfect, and the lives of both the wife and the husband are at once fulfilled. 9. Evam Bruvanam Avalakila Yoga Maya Vidya Vichakshanam Avikshagata Asit Katadhirasi Samprashraya Pranaya Vihvalaya Gireshad Vrida Valoka Vilasad Dharitanana. Upon hearing the speaking of her husband, who excelled in knowledge of all kinds of transcendental science, innocent Devahuti was very satisfied, her smiling face shining with a slightly bashful glance. She spoke in a choked voice because of great humility and love. Yogamaya, Yogottha Vibhutayaha. Here, Yogamaya refers to the various opulences caused by yoga practice. Vidya, Upasanahacha. Vidya refers to different forms of meditation that bring about knowledge, understanding, and realization. Tasucha Vishakshanam Madbharta Mat Paralaukikir Bhoga Moksha Sampadaha Makhyam Dadati. Her husband was expert in these, which means, okay, these were her thoughts. Natu ahikir iti manasi rushanti. She considered my husband is going to give me the opulences of bhoga and moksha. These are extraordinary opulences that he is going to give me. He is not going to give me things which can be attained through endeavors in this life. These are paralauki. Paralaukikir bhoga moksha sampada. These are things which I can only attain in my next life. See, that's when we engage in dharma, we will be benefited in this life and we will be benefited later. But the benefits that come later will be of a superior grade, and the benefits that we achieve in this life will be of an inferior grade. The ones that we can achieve in this life are called aihiki. Aihiki. The ones that we can achieve in the next life are called paratrika or paratriki. Here, paralaukiki. In the next life, they can only be experienced in the next life, celestial happiness. So she was thinking this in her mind. Samprashrayaha, vinayaha, pranayaha, prema visheshaha. Taveva vihvalam yathasyat. She became choked up because of her humble deliberation as well as her unique affection for him. Tatha yanti ardham pratigachanti yagistaya vihvalaya iti somapasha. ईषद् व्रीडायुक्तः अवलोकः एव विलसद्धिताननं यस्या सा आह पत्यो प्रकटसंभोगप्रार्थनाया रस आभासत्वात् तस्याः देवहूतेः च उत्तम अङ्गना मुकुटमणित्वात् राद्धम् इत्यादि पद्यद्वयस्य मुखेन वक्तुम् अशक्यत्वात् तत् वाचनार्थं लज्जाहसितं रक्षितम् अवलोकमेव मुखं चकार. She could not directly ask her husband for sexual happiness because that would be rasabhasa. And Devahuti, because she was the crest jewel amongst the first class ladies, because she could not directly express her thoughts, she was, her glance was filled with shyness and smile. तत्र व्यज्यमानो विनय प्रणयावेव गद्गदवाणीं चकार तथा यथा राद्धम् इत्यादि पद्यद्वयं स्पष्टम् उच्यमानं बभूव. So with a faltering voice she spoke texts 10 and 11, and those words revealed her humility and her deep love for her husband. मुखेन तु सा तुष्णीमेव तदा तस्थौ ityartha. At that very moment, however, she was silent. It is said that if one is already engaged in Krishna consciousness and is hindering accidental loving service to God, then it can be supposed that he has finished all the recommended courses of austerity, penance, religion, sacrifice, mystic yoga, and meditation. Devahuti's husband was so expert in the transcendental science that there was nothing for him to argue about. And when she heard him speak, she was confident that since he was very much advanced in devotion service, he had already surpassed all transcendental educational activities. She had no doubt about the gifts offered by her husband. She knew that he was expert in offering such gifts, and when she understood that he was offering the greatest gift, she was very satisfied. She was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and therefore she could not reply. Then, with faltering language, just like an attractive wife, she spoke the following words. Question.
So, in the previous verse, it is written that this grace of the Lord was achieved by Devavati by the goodwill and satisfaction of her husband. So, if in case husband is not so much advanced, then how they will attain the perfection?
First of all, this is only her swadharma. In addition to one's material duties, one has to execute spiritual duties also. There are 30 common duties for all human beings. And in addition to the common duties, there are specific duties. There are specific duties for husbands, there are specific duties for wives. So she is carrying out her specific duty in addition to her common duties. But if the husband himself is a great devotee of the Lord, then that makes it easier for the wife. Otherwise, she has to also execute her common duties, which includes devotion service. However, Bhakti is part of the common duties. And through that way, she has to make spiritual progress. That's a different track, that's a spiritual track. There's a question here in the chat box. How will I understand whether my spiritual master is pleased with me or not? Or one can go and ask him. That's all. It's not very complicated. 10. Devahuti Ruvacha. Radham Batat Vijavshai Tad Tamokha Yoga Maya Jibe Dvai Vibho Tad Vaimi Bharta Yastebhya Dhayi Samaya Sakridanga Sango Bhuya Gariyasi Guna Prasavah Sati Nam. Sri Devahuti said, my dear husband, O best of Brahmanas, I know that you achieve perfection, are the master of all the infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband. Devahuti Ruvacheti, Netra Ingitena iti Sheshaha. She spoke these words while glancing at him. I hope that is the meaning of this. Anyway, she conveyed this to her husband. It's not very clear to me whether Spashtam Uchyamanam Babhuva it says. Devahuti Ruvacha also it says. Netra Ingitena Sahita can be, this can be interpreted as that. Okay. Hey, Dvija Vrisha, Brahmana Sreshta. Oh, best of the Brahmanas. Oh, bull amongst the Brahmanas. Oh, best of the Brahmanas. Etat त्वयि radhyam siddhamev tat ahameva avaimi janameva. I know very well that you have this perfection. Kintu yaste tvaya samayah abhyadhayi uktah. But you had made an agreement. Sa bhuyat sakrit garbhasambhava matra paryantah angasanga ityarthah. So I require bodily union from you only until the time that I become pregnant. Yasmat Even at least once I require a child. Yasmat gariyasi shreshtapat yau hetubhute satinam strinam gunaha halu prasavaha apatya utpatihi eva. Because the good quality for chaste woman when they have an excellent husband is to give birth to a child. Yet abhavad vandhya iyam iti srishu ninda eveti bhavaha. In the absence of that, the woman will be simply criticized. Oh, she is a barren woman. Nirvisargapathe gunanam prasava iti samase apatyam mishena patyur guna eva prasuyante. There's another reading where prasava appears instead of prasavaha. ताभिरिति में त्वत्तः सद अपत्यानि भवन्तु इति भावः. She is saying in that case the understanding is it is the good qualities of the husband themselves take birth in the form of children. So therefore I require to have good children from you. This is the implication. Devahuti expressed her happiness by uttering the word bata, for she knew that her husband was in a highly elevated transcendental position and was under the shelter of Yogamaya. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, those who are great souls, Mahatmas, are not under the control of the material energy. The Supreme Lord has two energies, material and spiritual. The living entities are marginal energy. As marginal energy, a person may be under the control of the material energy or the spiritual energy, Yogamaya. Karda Muni was a great soul, and therefore he was under the spiritual energy, which means that he was directly connected with the Supreme Lord. The symptom of this is Krishna consciousness, constant engagement in devotion service. This was known to Devahuti, yet she was anxious to have a son by bodily union with the sage. She reminded her husband of his promise to her parents. I will remain only until the time of Devahuti's pregnancy. She reminded him that for a chaste woman to have a child by a great personality is most glorious. She wanted to be pregnant and she prayed for that. The word three means expansion. By bodily union of the husband and wife, their qualities are expanded. Children born of good parents are expansions of the parents. Personal qualification. Of course, conversely also it is true. If the parents are not so good, then the children will not be not so good also. Both Kardamuni and Devahuti were spiritually enlightened. Therefore, she desired from the beginning that first she be pregnant and then she be empowered with the achievement of God's grace and love of God. For a woman, it is a great ambition to have a son of the same quality as a highly qualified husband. Since she had the opportunity to have Kardamuni as her husband, she also desired to have a child by bodily union. 11. तत्रेति कृत्यमुपशिक्ष्य यथोपदेशं येनैष मे कर्षितोऽपि निरंसयात्मा सिद्ध्येत ते कृतमनोपधर्षितायातीनस्तदीश भवनं सदृशं विचक्ष्व. Devahuti continued, My dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, will be rendered fit for you. Also, my Lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose. ननु तर्हि प्रविश्य पर्णशालां तत्ते वाञ्छितं कर्वाणि इति चेत् न तदीदृशं मलिनकृशशरीरेण न एतादृशपर्णशालायां न एतादृशपरिच्छदेन सिद्ध्येत् इत्याह तत्रेति. And then she anticipated that he might say, all right, fine. So let's go to this leaf cottage. I'll satisfy you. She wanted to convey to him, no, but I have a dirty, thin body, and this is just some leaf cottage, and we have all these different um, uh, paraphernalia, which are only appropriate for all this sadhu life. So through all of this, my desire cannot be fulfilled. Tatra. Angasange iti krityam sadhanam yathopadesham vatsyayanadi shastra upadesham annatikramya upashiksha swasmadeva janihi kama prakriyayaha swaikagamyatvat. So therefore, please follow the instructions set out by sages like Sri Vatsayana Rishi in the Kama Shastras. Please make arrangements for these things. Because the procedures in Kama Shastras are meant to be worked out through self-study. One is not, you don't go and learn through a guru and all these things. Gyatva cha tat tat samchita vastu jatam rasa uddeepanadikam abhyanga bhojana panadikam cha sadhu sampadaya ityartha. So the idea is, so on the basis of this information, so please make arrangements for appropriate items that are meant to be, which stimulate the mellows of such attraction between a husband and wife, including arrangements for oil massage, eating, drinking, and so on. Yena esha atma dehaha ati viram saya karshita shobita san siddhyeta rati samartho bhavet. So that my body, which is currently emaciated, will become sufficiently agitated and will be capable of engaging in these activities of bodily union. Mama kidrishyaha te vaya eva kritah swadarshana janitah yo manobhavaha tena dharshitaya dinaha samprati tu daridra eva tat tasmat he isha yoga balena sarvam srashtum samarthaha. You should have compassion for me, because by looking at me, you will become sufficiently attracted. These are all important in the activities of karma. It is not simply just some sex and all like that. That is just like plain rice. You need to have all kinds of liquid subjects that everything will look nice. It's a whole big universe in itself. So through your she refers to him as Isha, Lord, which indicates that he is capable of creating everything that is required through the strength of mystic yoga. Sadrisham, Pratyanurupam, Bhavanam Chakshva Vicharaya. Please think about a proper place of residence that is appropriate for all of this. The Vedic literatures are not only full of spiritual instruction, but are also instructive in how to contribute material existence very nicely with the ultimate aim of spiritual perfection. Therefore, Devahuti asked her husband how to prepare herself for sex life according to the Vedic instructions. Sex life is especially meant for having good children. The circumstances for creating good children are mentioned in Kama Shastra, the scripture in which suitable arrangements are prescribed for actually glorious sex life. Everything needed is mentioned in the scriptures: what sort of house and decorations there should be, what sort of dress the wife should have, how she should be decorated with ornaments, scents, and other attractive features, etc. With these requisites fulfilled, the husband will be attracted by her beauty and a favorable mental situation will be created. The mental situation at the time of sex life may then be transferred into the womb of the wife, and good children can come out of that pregnancy. Here is a special reference to Devahuti's bodily features. Because she had become skinny, she feared that her body might have no attraction for Kardama. She wanted to be instructed how to improve her bodily condition in order to attract her husband. Sexual intercourse in which the husband is attracted to the wife is sure to produce a male child. But sexual intercourse based on attraction of the wife or the husband may produce a girl. That is mentioned in the Ayurveda. When the passion of the woman is greater, there is a chance of a girl being born. When the passion of the man is greater, then there is the possibility of a son. Devahuti wanted the passion of her husband to be increased by the arrangement mentioned in the Kama Shastra. She wanted him to instruct her in that way, and she also requested that he arrange for a suitable house, because the hermitage in which Kardama Muni was living was very simple and completely in the mode of goodness. and there was less possibility of passions being aroused in his heart. Okay. 12. Maitreya Vacha. प्रियायाः प्रियमन्विच्छन् कर्दमो योगमास्थितः विमानं कामगं क्षत्तस्तर्ह्येवाविरचीकरत् एवाविरचीकरत्. Maitreya continued, O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Tushnim sthitaya devahutya netra ingitena eva etad yaduktam. Kardama api tushnim sthita eva. So, okay, so it's clear. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says the previous verse was conveyed simply through her glance. It is not that she explicitly spoke all these things. So Kardama Muni also silently fulfilled her desire. Tada eva tattat sarvam sampadayam asa eva. That very moment he produced all these things. Natu pratyuttaram dada. He did not give any answer back to her. Ityaha priyaya ityadaya. That is conveyed in the text beginning with text 12. Here the words yogamastitaha are significant. He exercised his yogic power. The sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. As a result of a real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved, and after this, one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He at once created the palace, which is described in the following verses. 13. What is this? Is this a solid description of the airplane? Aerial mansion, yes. This is the continuation of the previous verse. 13. Sarvakama dukham divyam. Sarvaratma samanvayam. Sarvarthyupachayodarkam. Anistam bhairupaskritam. It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase in the course of time. Nacha deva manushyadi kritameva tat apurna sukhamayam ityaha. The aerial mansion that he created did not produce incomplete or imperfect happiness like the creations of the devas, human beings, and so on. That is noted in this verse. Nacha samanya vimanamiva uttarottara kala krita apachaya eva udarkaha uttarottara phalam yatra tat. Sarva riddhi upachaya udarkam. It was gradually increasing in its wealth. So this is not like an ordinary vimana, an ordinary airplane that over time deteriorates. Rather, over time, it becomes better and better. Upaskaranam, parikaraha, nacha aushnya shaityadikalika dukha sahitam ityaha sarvakali. Where is sarvakala? Oh, that is the next verse. It was equipped with all kinds of furniture. It was a furnished mansion. The castle created in the sky by Kardama Muni may be called a castle in the air. But by his mystic power of yoga, Kardama Muni actually constructed a huge castle in the air. To our feeble imagination, a castle in the sky is an impossibility. But if we scrutinizingly consider the matter, we can understand that it is not impossible at all. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets carrying millions of castles in the air, A perfect yogi like Arjuna Muni can easily construct one castle in the air. The castle is described as Sarvakama Dukham, yielding whatever one desired. It was full of jewels. Even the pillars were made of pearls and valuable stones. These valuable jewels and stones were not subject to deterioration but were everlastingly and increasingly opulent. We sometimes hear of castles just bedecked on the surface of this earth also. The castles constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night. Okay, there's a question here. He can create even a planet. Is it a temporary planet? Or what is the meaning of temporary planet? He can create a planet. He's Brahma's son, so he has some capacity that Brahma has. Plus, he was blessed by Lord Shukla. Okay, here's a question.
So in the purport to ninth verse, we read that Kardama Muni, he offered love of Godhead to Mother Devahuti. He offered love of Godhead to her. But even after getting love of Godhead, can one desire other things, material desires?
But she did not accept it. She said, I want a child now.
Oh, she didn't accept, okay.
Yeah, she's saying, look, now I want a child.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Love of God means that it is Uttama Bhakti. That itself is love of God. When that is matured, it's called love of God. It's like a mango is given to us, a green mango, which is not infested with worms or anything like that. You just leave it over time, it will become ripe.
Yes,
14 and 15. दिव्योपकरणोपेतं सर्वकाल सुखावहं पताकाभिर्विचित्राभिरलंकृतं सरंभिर्विचित्रमाल्याभिर् मंजुषिंजत षडंघ्रिभिः दुकूल क्षौमकौशेयैर् नानावस्त्रैर्विराजितम्. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Pattikabhi, Shudra Pataka, Pattikabhi, where is that? Shudra Pataka. Festoons means small flags. Patakabhi, and flags refer to large flags. Then what? Sragbhi with garlands. Atipushta Dirghabhi. These are very large garlands. A whole mansion is like this. In Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur edition, text 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, all of that is put together. It looks like all of this is one sentence. Oh, commentary is also big. 1 minute. Sragbhi. Yes. So these are particular types of garlands that are hung from particular places. Vichitrani, Raktapitadi Varnani, Malyani, Antaraproktani Yasutadhish. And then there were of different colors, the artistic work of varied colors, red, yellow, and so on. There were also garlands in other places. Just like in houses where wedding takes place and all, they decorate in different ways. That gives us an idea how these things were decorated. Dukule, Shudra, Krimi, Kosha, Tha, Pattavastre. Dukulai means it must be silk. It looks like fine cloth. Yeah, this is silk. Nanavastre, Ankarai. What is this? Karpasescha, Chatushtika, Vedyas, Tarana Rupe. What is all this? Dukulai is Pattavastra. And there are other types of clothing. I am not able to understand this. Looks like these are all very common in Vedic culture. Oh, okay. 16. Upari upari vinyasta nilayeshu prutak prutak kshiptah kashipubhih kantam pariyankam yajanasanai. The palace looked charming with beds, couches, fans, and seats all separately arranged in 7 stories. It is understood from this verse that the castle had many stories. The words Upari Upari Vinyasta indicate that skyscrapers are not newly invented. Even in those days, millions of years ago, the idea of building many storied houses was current. They contained not merely 1 or 2 rooms, but many different apartments. And each was completely decorated with cushions, bedsteads, sitting places, and carpets. Kashibubi Shayyad. 17. तत्र तत्र विनिक्षिप्त नाना शिल्पोपशोभितं महामरकतस्थल्या Jishtam Vidruma Vedibhihi. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral daises. Drumamaya. Dehalya. No? At the present moment, people are very proud of their architectural art, yet floors are generally decorated with colored cement. It appears, however, that the castle constructed by the yogi powers of Karzumuni had flowers of emerald with coral daises. 18. Dvasu Vidruma Dehalya, Bhatam Vajra Kapatavat, Shikareshu Indra Neeleshu, Hema Kumbhair Atish Nittam. The palace was very beautiful with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. Vidrumamaya Dehalya Bhatam Varshu Vajra Kavatam Hiraka Kavata Yuktam Shikareshu Sarvorja Prasada Chudasu. So the domes at the very top of the mansion, there were some domes. They were covered with gold. 19. Chakshushvat Padmaragag Yai Vajrabhitishu Nirmitai Jishtam Vichitrava Vaitanai Maharhai Hematoranai with the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls. It appears as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Hirakamaya Bhittishu Arpitai Padmaragagya Khandai Chakshushma Diva Vaitane Vitana Samu Hemnaha Toranai Vandanamalya Tikhyate. What is this Vandanamalya? It looks like that used to be some kind of Toran. Torana is still there in South Indian temples. We still see these things. Artistic jewelry and decorations giving the appearance of eyes are not imaginary. Even in recent times, the Mughal emperors constructed their palaces with decorations of jeweled birds with eyes made of valuable stones. The stones have been taken away by the authorities, but the decorations are still present in some of the castles constructed by the Mughal emperor in New Delhi. The royal palaces were built with jewels and rare stones resembling eyes, and thus at night they would give off reflective light without need of lamps. The walls were made of diamond. 20. Hamsa para matat pratais tatra tatra nikujitam Kritriman Manyamanai Swan, Adhiruhya Dhiruhya Cha. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons, so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these birds. Kritriman api Hamsadi and Swan, Swajatiyan, Nyamanaihi, Tatra Tatra Swaganamadhye, Atiruhya, Nirharam Kujitam. Viharasthan, Pidapradeshah, Vishramah, Shayanagriham, Samveshah, Sambhogantar Nidragriham. Where is that? That is not here. That is, I think it will come in the next verse. Yes, it's all here. 21. Viharasthana Vishrama Sampesha Pranganaji Rai Yathopajosham Rachitair Vismapanam Vivatmanaha. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards, designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Pranganam, Ajiram, Prachi, Radbhi, Ajiram, outer yards, yes. Yathopajosham, Yathasukham, Atmanaha, Swasya Karnamasya api viveti, Swanirtatvat, Swasya Vasudhana Isma. Eva. Eva means as if. All of this seemingly caused astonishment to the sage himself. But because he himself actually created them, actually he was not amazed. Ardhamuni, being a saintly person, was living in a humble hermitage. But when he saw the palace constructed by his yogic powers, which was full of resting rooms, rooms for sex enjoyment, and inner and outer yards, he himself was astonished. That is the way of a God-gifted person. He was astonished at the mercy of Lord Shukla. Mayavi no pi, not Maya Viropi. Vismaya Janakam Iva. Vismapanam Iva iti Utpreksha Matra. Iva is not to be taken literally. A devotee like Kardamani exhibited such opulence by his yogic power at the request of his wife, but when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestations could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished. Sometimes, not always. At this time, Kardama is thinking of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he was astonished at the power of the Lord. Those who are absorbed in affectionate devotional service to the Lord, they experience the wonders of the Supreme Lord every now and then. 22. Idrigriham tat pashyantim nati pritena chetasa sarvabhutashaya vidyah pravochat kardama swayam. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus he personally addressed his wife as follows: Na atipritena malina dehatpat paricharika abhavatcha iti bhava. She was not, her heart was not happy, was not very happy. Atipritena, not much pleased, because her body was unclean and she did not have any maids. Remember, she was a princess. Maids are all quite normal for princesses. There's basically nothing you have to do by yourself. Everything is given to you. But here she had no maid, nobody, and she was just serving her husband. But now that he had created a palace, then she was thinking, why don't you create some maids also? Devahuti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt. Her clothing was not very nice. Vardhamuni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly his wife Devahuti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardamuni could understand her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows. 23. Nimmajyasmin hrade bhiru vimanam idamaruha idam shuklakritam tirtham ashisham yapakam. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First bathe in Lake Bindu Sarovar, created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of human being, and then mount this airplane. Hrade Bindu Sarasi Yapakam Prapakam. It is still the system. Go to places of pilgrimage and take a bath in the water. In Vrindavan, the people take baths in the river Yamuna. In other places such as Prayag, they take baths in the river Ganges. The words Tirtham Ashisham Yapakam refer to the fulfillment of desires by bathing in a place of Kardamuni advised his good wife to bathe in Lake Bindusarovar so that she could revive the former beauty and luster of her body. Satad Bhartu Samadaya Chahku Valaya Kshana Sar Rajam Vibhrati Vaso Heni Bhutamsya Sajan. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Samadaya. It's not Samadaya. Okay. Accepting. Akritya. Where is it? 1 minute. 1 minute. What is this? This is 24. I'm just not able to understand how a word is, particular word is connected. Samadaya Svikritya, that is what the Siddhanta says. Samadhar Kurilen. She honored the instruction of her husband. It's Adritya, not Akritya. Yes, something is wrong. This thing requires to be. Okay. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. It appears that Devahuti's hair had remained uncombed for many years and had become complicated in tangles. In other words, she neglected her bodily dress and comforts to engage in the service of her husband. 25. Angam cha malapankena sanchannam shabalastanam avivesha saraswatya sarashiva jalashayam. Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake which contained the sacred waters of the Saraswati. 26. Santa Sarasiveshmastha Shatani Dashakanyaka Sarva Kishora Vayaso Tadashot Palagandhayaha. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. 27. Tam drishtva sakasotthaya prochuh pranjalaya striyaha vayam karmakaristubhyam shadina karavama kim. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly arose and said with folded hands, "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." Tubhyam tava karmakarihi. Kinkaryaha yadva tubhyam paricharitam tvam asman shadi agyapay. Please order us what we need to do to you. While Devahuti was thinking of what to do in that great palace in their dirty clothes, there were at once by the yogic powers of Kardamuni 1,000 maidservants prepared to serve her. They appeared before Devahuti within the water and presented themselves as her maidservants, simply awaiting her orders. 28. Snanena tam maharhena snapayitva manasvinim dukule nirmale nutne dadur asyaisha manadah. The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they gave her fine, new, spotless cloth to cover her body. 26. Bhushanani pararthyani variyamsi jumanticha annam sarva gunopetam Panam Chaivamrita Asava. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet inebriating drink called Asava. Snana Yogya Taila Adina. So they bathed her with oils meant for bathing oils, and so on. Bhushana Adini Paridhatum Dadu. And they gave her Bhushana, Bhushanani. They gave her most valuable, excellent, shining ornaments. Annapanesha Bhuktum Dadu. And they gave food and drinks. Asavam is an Ayurvedic medical beverage. It's not liquor. It's especially made from drugs, medical drugs, and is meant to improve metabolism for the healthy condition of the body. Athadarshe Swamatvanam Sragvinam Virajambaram Virajam Kritaswastyayanam Kanyabhir Bhupanitam. Then in a mirror she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland, dressed in unsullied robes, and decorated with auspicious marks of tilak. She was served very respectfully by the maids. Swam Atmanam Dadarsha. She saw her own reflection. 31. Snatam Kritashirah Snanam Sarva Pranabhushitam Nishkagrivam Valayinam Pujat Kanchana Nupuram. Her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. Kaschit Paschatyaha Striyaha Shirasa Nasnanti iti tad Varnarthamaha. What is this Paschatya Striyaha? What, in Western India they did not take bath in, they did not take a head bath or what? Oh, 30, 31, 32, 33 itself is a single cluster in Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur edition. Yes, it looks like there are some women from Western India who don't take bath in the head, but she did take bath. Krita Shirasnanam. She took bath in the head also. The word Krita Shirasnanam appears here. According to the Smriti Shastra's direction for daily duties, ladies are allowed to bathe daily up to the neck. The hair on the head does not necessarily have to be washed daily because the mass of wet hair may cause a cold. For ladies, therefore, taking a bath up to the neck is ordinarily prescribed, and they take a full bath only on certain occasions. On this occasion, Devahuti took a full bath and washed her hair very nicely. When a lady takes an ordinary bath, it is called Malasnana. And when she takes a full bath, including the head, it is called Shirasnana. At this time, she needs sufficient oil to smear on her head. That is the direction of the commentators of Smriti Shastra. Okay. 32. Shronyoradhyastaya kanchanya vavrataya harena cha maharhena ruchakena cha bhushitam. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Shronyor katyor adhyastaya upari vinyastaya. Kanchya ruchakena mangaladravyena. Ruchakam mangaladravye griva bharadantyo iti vishwaha. This girdle of gold is for auspiciousness. Is that the meaning? No, there was a girdle made of gold, and on top of it there were auspicious substances, which were also put on her. Yes, that is the meaning. It quotes from Vishwakosha that Ruchaka refers to auspicious substances. Auspicious substances include saffron, kurkuma, and sandalwood pulp. Before taking a bath, there are other auspicious substances such as turmeric mixed with mustard seed oil, which are smeared all over the body. All kinds of auspicious substances were used to bathe Devahuti from top to toe. Okay. There's some question that may deal with this. Bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night. Is there any place in this material world also where light is not required? Where light is not required, where sunlight is not required, where lamplight is not required. Yes, in the lower planets, the jewels on the hoods of the Nagas, they illuminate. Okay, another question.
So in the translation of 25th verse, it is said that Devahuti's body was decorated with a thick layer of dirt. Means she didn't take bath for a long time. That means so. And then
No,
how
you would have taken bath, but not this kind of bath. Just minimal bath.
Okay.
33 Suddhata Subhvash Lakshna Snigdha Pangena Chakshusha Padmakosha Spridha Neelair Alakais Chal Lasan Mukham. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses, dark curling hair. Suddhata, Subhru, Subhru, Subhru. Why Subhru? No, Subhru, why it must be. Let me check. This is 33. 3. Suddhata, Subhruva. Chakshusha इति जातौ एकवचनानि श्लक्ष्णः मनोहरः श्लक्ष्ण means lovely, charming. स्निग्धः अपाङ्गः यत्र तेन पद्मकोशे. What is this? पद्मकोशेन सह स्पर्धते इति पद्मकोश स्पृत् तेन. It defeated the beauty of lotus buds. It was competing with the beauty of lotus buds. According to Vedic culture, white teeth are very much appreciated. Devahuti's white teeth increased the beauty of her face and made it look like a lotus flower. When a face looks very attractive, the eyes are generally compared to lotus petals and the face to a lotus flower. 34. Yada sasmara rishabham rishinam dayitam patim tatra chaste sahaspribhir yatraste sat prajapatihi. When she thought of her great husband, the best of the sages, Kardamani, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. It appears from this verse that in the beginning, Devahuti thought herself to be dirty and dressed in a very niggardly way. When her husband asked her to enter the lake, she saw the maidservants and they took care of her. Everything was done within the water. As soon as she thought of her beloved husband, Kardama, she was brought before him without delay. These are some of the powers attained by perfect yogis. They can immediately execute anything they desire. 35. Bhartuh purastad atmanam stri sahasra kritam tada nishamya tad yoga gatim samshayam pratyapadyata. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. Natu jalah radat padat vyaparena yantam iti tasya alputa eva yoga gatihi. that mystic movement, that mystic power with which she was brought from inside the water to here. It's just like teleportation. Suddenly you disappear there and appear here. She did not come from the inside the lake by swimming and then climbing out of that lake using her feet and so on. So that was very astonishing. Nishamya drishtva tasya eva yogagatim yoga prabhavam cha drishtva samshayam kathamedat abhut iti vismayam. So then she became astonished, amazed. How did that happen? Devahuti saw everything miraculously done. Yet when brought before her husband, she could understand it was all due to his great yogic mystic power. She understood that nothing was impossible for a yogi like Kardama Muni. Okay, 36, 37, we will see tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarushya kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnava.